welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and this month we are going to be taking a look at bases. It's been a while since I've done a Breakpoint video, but bases are a crucial part of this game, so I'll be focusing on them for the month. Today is also the last day to participate in our first Play to Get Paid giveaway challenge, so be sure to post your screenshots in the Erudia Discord. Today, I want to talk about 200 bases. Bases with a spread of 2-0-0. On the surface, these bases are not very exciting, and there are only 3 of them. One literally has no ability. One of them is Munchkin, which is often overlooked. The third is Tournament Site, which can have much more meaning in multiplayer. But despite all this, 200 bases are extremely important in Smash Up, and it feels criminal that there are only 3 of them in the entire game. To contextualize this, consider the fact that there are 5 ninja bases in the game, and ninja bases are infinitely harder to create. Even if you count Moot Site, which I don't, there would still be more ninja bases. Why is this? I have 2 main guesses as to why this is. The first has to do with what I suggested earlier. They aren't very exciting on paper. They are only worth 2 points. You get nothing unless you win them. The abilities themselves aren't great. From a power to VP ratio, Jungle Oasis is 6-1. Compare that with most 4 VP bases, which have ratios closer to 5, sometimes less. Of course, putting the breakpoint closer to 10 would make it too easy for someone to go 0 to breakpoint, which doesn't feel right. So you're spending more resources for less points, doing so inefficiently, and getting nothing for wasted minions. This certainly seems like a possibility. The second theory is more delicate. Every now and then, you will hear about a desire to speed up the game, and 200 bases don't do that. This is a separate topic entirely, but I don't think the game needs speeding up. But that sentiment is more common than you think among players, and 200 bases do not speed up the game. High-value bases do. Since Jungle Oasis, there have been 2 200 bases, but there have also been 2 6-point bases. And this doesn't include the exploitable nature of the 2 famous bases in the core set. If you view the original and Munchkin as core candidates, both of those had a 200 base, but Marvel did not, and this sentiment certainly came up during Marvel. In fact, looking at the Marvel bases, 11 are 4 VP, 3 are 3, and 2 are 5. For static scoring bases, this is significantly higher than the core set, which, to be fair, is offset by ninja bases. But when you consider the fact that bases are largely about winning, the fact that there are more ninja bases, which can be contextually dead, is very surprising. So why am I saying that 200 bases are crucial? Yes, 4 and 5s will speed up the game, but 200 bases will actually keep the game interesting. When evaluating a 200 base, it has nothing to do with the winner VP, which is just 2. It has nothing to do with the differential, which is also 2, just like the majority of bases, which are 4-2-1. No, this is entirely about the fact that a 200 base offers no reward for second place, and this is vital. You hear me talk all the time about power creep, the phenomenon where incrementally adding your power can come back to bite you as other players exploit it. But there is a related concept that also matters here: score creep. One of my favorite ways to win is to immediately win after losing a base, where second place pushes me into range where a first place finish will end it. Because of the nature of Smash Up, where bases are typically broken on your turn, momentum is key. Let's use a 2-player example, even though I think this is more relevant in multiplayer. If I could win 2 bases of 4-2-1, I'm winning 8-4. Even if I lose the next 4-2-1 base, the score is 10-8. And that would have occurred on your turn, so now I'm within striking distance of winning a 5-point base, and I get a head start because now it's my turn. I can play my game plan because I can afford to lose that base, whereas you can't. Now let's assume the order is reversed, and my rival goes after the 5-point base third. The score is still 8-4 beforehand, but now the score is 11-9 after the third. You'll notice there is still the turn advantage, and instead of a 5-point base, I only need 4 to win, which is infinitely more common. Again, even though I lost that third base, the points I got pushed me into range where I could win. Mathematically, Smash Up in 2-player is a 5-score game, unless it's less. Usually, first to 3 wins gets it, unless solo bases are involved. I have in fact won games by breaking 3 5-point bases for a 15-9 victory, but largely, even if we trade bases left and right, at a 4-2-1 spread, the score will probably be 16-14 if we were tied at 12. But throw in a 200 base, and now everything is different. I can still claw my way back into the game, but I can do so in a safer manner. I get less points, but I leave myself more of a buffer to recover from another lost base. I can buy myself more time to make a play for a solo base. In multiplayer, The ability to get points without inching anyone else ahead is crucial. If factions have additional VP opportunities, you have to be very careful to avoid pushing them further. Additionally, if you think about it from a momentum standpoint, each deck has a certain number of bullets. Most of the time, if you start slow, you haven't used many bullets yet, and you could have a stronger second half. But there are regeneration turns. It's routinely common for me to win the first two, take an easy second on the third, then win the fourth base for the win or a guaranteed win. In fact, if you think about it from this perspective, if I win 3 bases at 4 VP each, I have 12 VP. If you get second on them all, you get 6. Even if you win the next base to make it 14 to 10, the first to 3 mentality means that you just need 3 wins, and your rival can win on second place. Outside of a solo base or a crazy base, there is no base that you could win to keep the game going, unless it specifically offers 0 points to second. If there is no 200 base out there, the game feels effectively lost. At least you have a chance for a double score to tie it up and keep going. You could double score on a 4-2 base for the same effect, but this is harder because your rival is going to want presents, and now you risk giving it away to them if they can break one first before you break 2. But really, I should have convinced you when I said that there were more ninja bases than 200 bases. There are just as many 332 bases as 200 bases, and that's just wrong. With a specific base like a 200, the ability is what will allow more of them to exist, which is ironic because Jungle Oasis has no ability, which is double ironic because that is the ability. It's pure risk-reward. I like Jungle Oasis because of that, but we could use it as a baseline for determining what type of abilities could be featured in 200 bases. Despite the canonical play being King Rex Rampage, I prefer to save those cards for other impacts. Instead, I really like it with the Steampunks because they can move there, or burst with Agromotive, and they have recursion to get good actions back, so using Agromotive for an instant strike makes sense. Movement is definitely a possibility, but the idea of an on-play reward also makes sense. Treasure Bath does this, allowing you to draw a treasure each time. That type of incentive, perhaps tied to recursion, would incentivize someone to play there and risk inching closer to the breakpoint. Bases with pure recursion can be an issue, because the squared circle can be brutal with action recursion, but making the breakpoint low enough could be worth it. You could also try double draw at the start or end of your turn, or drawing 1 card at the start and 1 card at the end of your turn. Then there's Tournament Site. Tournament, in theory, can be a 5-0 base, but I don't think it works out that way in practice. In 2-player, I tend to avoid this base either way, because math. Its breakpoint is 19, and most players would throw a 2 just to avoid getting the VP. Unless I can destroy it, that makes the base a dead ability from there on, and even if I can, it becomes a 19-point solo base for 3 points. 19 breakpoint seems pretty average for 3 VP, but I haven't done the specific math, so I could be wrong. The point is, it's about feeling, and Tournament Site rarely feels worth it to me. At 16 breakpoint, I would definitely be interested, as it would be one of the better 3 VP breakpoints, especially with the upside of going to 4 or more in multiplayer. And the fear of upside forces players to play there, creating more efficiency, which is better for the base overall. Applying the lessons of these bases, the breakpoint seems to be the key, as it should be on the lower end, and definitely worth the effort. If Treasure Bath spams monsters and gets closer to 20, players aren't going to try to break it unless it can specifically deal with monsters. Another interesting ability option would be something like Great White North, but for everyone but the current winner, allowing anyone to give up on the base as it's scoring and set up a play elsewhere, or stand their ground and try to steal it. How do you feel about 200 bases? Would you like to see more of them in the future? If so, with what abilities, and if you don't like them, let me know why in the comments. Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, let's shut it down.